if I decide to create something that is of a technological nature, some little gadget that has a way in which it works and makes life simpler for me, that is also intellectual property. So simply put, it's a creation of the mind. Yes.
What about if I just made my dress?
Yes, even that is intellectual property.
I can protect the right to the
yes,
design?
We call that an industrial design.
Okay.
You could also call it a trade dress, and you could also call it copyright because of the way you've put it together and crafted it on paper. So if you are good at designing dresses and you sketch something together, that sketch would have copyright protection. But if you take it from just the sketch and you get a sewing machine and some material and you actually knit together a dress, that is a type of intellectual property called an industrial design, and it can also be protected as such. Yeah.
Many Ugandans, I know there are many inventors in Uganda, but they have ignored that bit. Where is your visibility as Uganda Registration Services Bureau in regard to protecting these people's intellectual property rights?
Okay, so maybe I'll start a little bit and then my colleague Gilbert would come in, because I don't work at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, he does.
You are an expert in this case.
Yes, it's my expert. So where I see us going in the future is very exciting, and that's part of why we're here today, to talk about the protocol that's coming up on copyright. In the past 10 years, I've been in this field for about 17 years or so now, in the field of intellectual property, and starting out back in the early 2000s, hardly anyone knew about intellectual property. Yeah. No one would talk about it. Those who were meant to teach it also hardly understood it, because itself as a field was just growing. It's an ever-growing field. Yes. But with every turning year, the more we talk about it, the more people are inquisitive, and those that are reading into it and understanding it and can share their knowledge are helping others to appreciate it. So I see it as a very growing field, and Uganda Registration Services Bureau is also taking leaps and bounds in educating people about how to protect their work and how to innovate. So the future is very bright indeed.
Thank you very much. Now I'll turn to Mr. Gilbert Agaba. We are organizing as a country a conference in regard to intellectual property rights. Tell us more about this conference.
Yes, thank you, Naiga.
Yes.
I'll start maybe by telling you our role as Uganda Registration Services Bureau in respect of intellectual property. URSB is a government agency. Most people know us for business registration, but we are also the National Intellectual Property Office. That means we are responsible for protection of intellectual property in Uganda. All people who create or innovators who seek protection of what they've created, they do so through Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And in that regard, we administer certain laws, we administer certain policies that enable us to effectively provide this protection to the people of Uganda. Now, Uganda is a member of an organization called the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, or Airpo. This organization was established in 1976. And,
1976?
Yes, it was established in 1976. And its purpose was to help the member states in this organization to harmonize intellectual property laws and regulations. And also it was set up to have a common pool in terms of administration of IP by the various governments. There are now around 20 member states of Airpo, including Uganda.
Are they only in Africa or in
Yes, it's an African organization. It's open to all member states of AU. And it has now 20 member states. The latest one is Mauritius, which joined last year. And possibly in the near future, a country called Cape Verde will also join. But Airpo, Uganda is a member of Airpo. It also includes Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Ghana in West Africa, Sierra Leone and Liberia also in West Africa, the Gambia, and Mozambique, and Sudan. So all these countries, 20 of them, are members of Airpo. They are constituted to develop a common pool of administration of IP services. So in 2018,
Yes.
the ministers of responsible for IP in the various member states of Airpo agreed to develop a protocol for administration of copyright. As you've heard from the expert,
Yes.
copyright relates to protection of literary and artistic works. So people who are authors of books, people in the music industry, people who are filmmakers, photographers, sculptors, all these kinds of people, what they create is protected by copyright. And in order to enable creators in the various member states access these markets effectively in these 20 member states, the countries that constitute Airpo agreed to set up this protocol, which will enable individuals to protect their copyright in these various member states. So we are organizing, Uganda is hosting a conference. The purpose is to enable these countries, agree on the text of how the protocol is going to look like, and then sign the protocol to ensure that the process begins to domesticate it in the various countries, and also to see how it can be used by citizens of these member states to protect their copyright.
Okay, that is on a wider note.
Yes.
What about on Uganda's note? How are we going to benefit as Ugandans? First of all, we have inventors. Let's say we are trying now to invent a vaccine for COVID. There are people who have come up with medicines to treat COVID, let's say COVID-X. There are others who are still in the laboratories trying to invent. How are they going to be protected, or how are they going to benefit from this Airpo conference?
Thank you. So the conference, the purpose of it, like I said, is to agree on a text of a protocol which will be used to protect copyright in these 20 member states. Now, how are you as a creator in Uganda going to benefit from this protocol? One, first of all, it will ease the process in which you get protected in these various countries. As long as you, at least that's what is envisaged, that as long as you apply for registration through this Airpo framework, you should be able to get protection instantly in these 20 countries. That's one. The second thing is that these 20 member countries have over 200 million people, and that is a market that we can exploit. If you are involved in the music industry, in the film industry, the easier that you can protect your work in Tanzania, in the Gambia, in Mauritius, it will make it easier also to gain returns from the work that is being protected there. So as a Ugandan musician, as a Ugandan artist, the benefit is that you will get access to a market of over 200 million people instantly through this protocol. And number three, the more you have a bigger market, the more you're able to attract investors in the industry. If you have many consumers, then those who are looking for a market will come and enter your country to be able to exploit that market. So we believe through this protocol we'll be able to attract inventors in the creative sector to be able to develop our creative industry, not only in Uganda but in the region as stipulated in that protocol.
I'll still drill on you. Africa has over 50 countries.
Yes.
And there are only 20 who have subscribed to Airpo.
Yes.
What is the fate of others? Are they wishing to join? Is there a plan to make them join the Airpo protocol?
Yes, the reasons are both, they are mainly historical. When the organization was set up in 1976, it was actually for English-speaking countries in Africa. And then later, of course, it morphed into the organization that we have today, where any state country in Africa can join this organization. There is another entity that deals with French-speaking countries, mainly in West Africa, but Airpo mainly deals with English-speaking, although now they have members who speak Portuguese, like Sao Tome and Principe and Mozambique, who use Portuguese as their national language. Now, any country is free to join Airpo. There are no impediments. You can subscribe to what is called the Lusaka Agreement to join this organization. Uganda, as a founding member, of course, still benefits from this protocol, and through it, I think we've been able to make strides in IP, as you've heard from the expert, that we are able to grow as a country in the use of IP, not only for the creative sector, but also in the area of inventions, as you talked about the COVIDX business and so forth.
Yes. Professor Kakoza, the adoption of this protocol, what importance will it be as an expert in intellectual property rights?
Thank you. So there's a lot of historical significance, history being made here. It's going to be the 5th protocol from Airpo, coming out of Airpo. So if we do a bit of a flashback, as my colleague has said, Airpo was established through the Lusaka Agreement of 1976. Fast forward from there, 1982, the first protocol was the Harare Protocol, where the different member states met in Harare and they agreed to have an agreement that would help in protection of what we call patents. Patents, you asked a question about the innovators, COVIDX, and all those kinds of things. Now, those are not so much in the area of copyright, which is on writing and music and drama.
So copyright is for books,
books
writing.
And music and fine art and things like that.
Then now, patent is for knowledge.
Yes, invention, the sciences, what you mix in the labs and what you mix in the garage and technical things, that's where you get the patents. So that was the first protocol, the Harare Protocol. Then we had the Banjo Protocol, which looks at trademarks. And trademarks are on marks and signs and symbols that connect goods and services to the person who makes these goods and services. And then we had the Arusha Protocol, which I believe my colleague Gilbert was actually the chair of discussing the Arusha Protocol in Tanzania, which addresses plant variety protection, breeders' rights. Now, these are the farmers coming in and the things they do. And then we had the Swakopmund Protocol in Namibia, which is meant to look at how to protect traditional knowledge, traditional culture expressions from the member states. So this is the 5th one, which is now looking at copyright, the arts industry, the creative industry. And this is a huge thing in Uganda. We have so many musicians that have been talking about there not being a law. The law is actually there. We're just trying to boost awareness, with URSB taking the lead in boosting awareness and how to protect their music. Publishers, book publishers, all these people getting together, and how we tap into building up their knowledge on how to protect their works. This is timely that we have a protocol of this nature to say that, yes, when you've written your book, when you have composed your music, when you have designed your dress and all those other arts, and you want to take it to another country outside Uganda, this protocol will help you. That you can go through Airpo, and it will guide you on how to register your works in any of those 20 member countries. So we're looking at the export industry also booming. We're looking at revenue collection booming, and we're looking at the youth who are so innovative, and we have many of them. The biggest population in Uganda is of the youth, knowing that there are avenues through which they can benefit and the whole country benefiting. So.
Okay, currently Africa and some poor countries or third world countries are facing a problem of vaccines. This is because these vaccines were invented by someone who patented them such that we cannot get them at free will as we wished or as it could be. Will this conference address such issues of producing generic medicines? Let's say you give Uganda the chance to produce generic medicine from your patented work. Let's say Pfizer gives some chemists in Uganda the patent rights to produce the generic medicines?
Gilbert probably answer that, but the short that I can say is
No,
that
you can give your
protocol,
view, and
yes,
you can as well come in.
My view is that this is copyright, purely on copyright. It's going to be on copyright only. And our understanding of copyright is literary works. Have you written something? The books you've written, dramatic works, plays, theater, that kind of thing. Arts. The arts is dancing, choreography, acting, music.
Even the dance moves can be
that's called choreography, and that is copyright protection. Yes, that is protected. Even architecture, the way you design a building, architecture works are protected as copyright. So all those kinds of things is where copyright falls. It has nothing to do with medicinal knowledge. That's where Swakopmund Protocol now comes in, which Uganda has not yet signed.
Why? So why? Mr. Gilbert, you can tell us, because you are at Uganda Registration Services Bureau. Why haven't we signed that yet? It's really important from his explanation.
So like we said, this conference is about copyright. So it's not about patents. It's not about traditional knowledge or trademarks, about copyright.
Copyright, yes.
And that's one. The other aspect we should know is that we have learned even through this pandemic that the solutions to the problems we face lie with us. We are the people who are going to innovate. We are the people who have the solutions that we need to deal with the challenges that we face. So this protocol on copyright is more about promoting our people locally. How can we help our creative sector to grow? How can we enable our artists, our musicians, and all these people, photographers and so forth, to be able to tap into markets that are available. That said, even in the case of COVIDX, the same idea applies. That the solution we found was from a local scientist. So before we start going to other countries and seeking that, can you give us this? Maybe we need to think about who are our people who are providing us these solutions, and how can we protect them to be able to exploit what they've created in the market. And those mechanisms are already there. The people of COVIDX have really used this mechanism to protect themselves. And even if any person out there who's coming up with any invention, the mechanisms are there already in our current law to protect them. So in terms of what this conference is about, we are looking at how can we enable those who create in this country to be able to grow, to protect what they've created, to grow into external market, and also for us as a country, it's an opportunity to market ourselves. This conference is being held in the midst of the challenges of the pandemic. But Uganda is demonstrating, and it did this with the World Health Summit and now with this conference, that despite these challenges, we are able to work and do our best to ensure that we hold these activities in a safe and secure manner to be able to benefit, because life moves on whether there is a pandemic or not. Artists want to make money, people who are in the creative sector want to find opportunities for their products, and we have to enable that. So we have to hold this conference. It will take place by the way, starting from 20th to 28th.
I was coming to that. Let's not preempt that.
But okay.
One of the hardest hit sectors in Uganda is the music industry.
Of course.
And it is rightly under the copyright law. And many of them have not registered their music, or they have not registered their copyrights for copyrights at your offices. I don't know how true is that, but you can give me a feel of whether these artists we have in Uganda really visit your office to register their music and copyright it.
That's a very good question, and like you heard even the experts say, most people in the creative sector will tell you that there is no law that protects copyright, which is not true. Our law that provides for protection of copyright is from 2006. It's been there from 2006, and even before then there was some law. But the current law is from 2006. The challenge, of course, we found is that the sector, copyright is very hard to perceive, to understand. A musician knows that when you tell him, why are you a musician? You say, I'm able to sing. What have you produced? He'll give you a CD, he'll give you a tape. Now, copyright embodies the expression of those things that the musician creates through their performances or whatever. And it's not tangible. You cannot touch and say this is copyright. So the musician or the artist cannot perceive, what do I actually own? They think they own the CD or they own their image as a good performer. And that has, of course, affected them, that the way they interact with the law has been the law has not been used effectively. That's why they think there is no protection, because they cannot appreciate in the first place this issue of copyright.
Maybe it's your fault that you've not sensitized them.
I was coming to that. That of course sensitization can never stop. Okay. I've been here on this station talking about copyright, but could be the first time you're hearing about copyright. That's not yes, that's still okay.
Yeah, someone else is hearing it for the first time.
Yes, always is someone hearing it, and we have to continue the message. Even you in broadcasting know that a message has to be continuously shared for people to read it, for it to sink in. And this is what we continuously do, sharing this information. The other aspect is dealing with the structural issues that affect the industry. Since it cannot be properly perceived, people easily infringe on copyright. People go and get CDs and make copies and sell. They don't care that, you know, this music belongs so and so, I should pay him.
Or download. Yes, these days we use YouTube Downloader. We even have an app,
yes,
which downloads easily.
Yes, I hope you are not confessing to a crime, because infringement is a crime.
I'm speaking from an informed point of view, but still I see it. There are so many apps that are bypassing the
protection mechanism,
the patented or copyrighted work. It is I will not mention them, but they are there. So just go on Google, type in, and you get YouTube, put in your song, download immediately. You have the song on your phone.
Yes, and then we share this music, and we deny the authors. And
that is at the expense of the artist.
Yes, it doesn't get what is due to them.
Yet the music will be played everywhere.
They will enjoy it. The person taking the music will continuously enjoy it without remunerating the owner of copyright.
So what will this copyright law help that musician in that regard?
So this law, the protocol we are talking about, it's more of reinforcing your existing national structures. If you have no protection, this law is not going to introduce something out of the ordinary for you. It will find the problems as they were. So in the first place, as member states, we must have a form of protecting our artists. In Uganda, yes, we do. So as we do this, this protocol will enable the artist access markets outside Uganda through an effective and simple protection mechanism for the artist. So if I want to sell my music, say in Kenya, I don't have to go to Kenya. I use this protocol, I use this mechanism to be able to sell my work, to protect my work in Kenya, and then I can even use through the protection I get, I can be able to enforce my rights in Kenya without ever stepping there. This is how it will help you. How do I enter the market, an additional market? How do I grow my fan base? How do I get remunerated for everyone in these countries who's been using my work? This protocol should be able to help you by you have proof that you are the owner of the copyright, and therefore you can enforce your rights in these different 20 markets of Airpo.
I'll still go back to you, and earlier I asked, are these artists, Ugandan artists, coming to your office to register their work?
Yes, they are, and some are not doing it. There are reasons for that. One is that copyright is protection is automatic. The moment you create the work, you get automatic protection. That's what the law prescribes. but you need to register to prove that you are the owner of this work. I know there was a newspaper article where the estate of the late Kasiukra was claiming copyright in certain works that people are enjoying. Now, if they are registered, registration will be proof that they own this work. It doesn't matter who sang the song or whatever, the person who's registered as the owner will be able to claim ownership to the work, and therefore you'll be able to claim from this work. So that's why registration is critical.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
You mean I can sing my song, then my producer registers it as his, and then that means he takes the rights away from me?
I'll allow the teacher to explain to you what happens here.
Please, Professor Kakoza,
So there
take it
are very many instances where things like that happen. Copyright is what they call a bundle of rights. You walk into a studio and you say, I have a beautiful voice, I want to sing a song.
Okay.
And they say, okay, let's
Sample
get
us.
someone to write the lyrics. And then they give you those lyrics, and then they say, sing this song. And then you have a sound recorder, someone who mixes the beats and does all that stuff. They own specific copyrights. You will own the performance rights because you're the one performing the song.
Okay.
And altogether, that's the bundle of the copyright. But now the one who put all that together and
The one who wrote the lyrics?
the one who wrote the lyrics is different, maybe also part of the studio, maybe an employee of the studio. But you have all these different nitty-gritty people getting together, and the final thing that is produced on a CD, and it's a CD that says maybe Kasiukria's studio and the like, would own the eventual copyright. So it's a contract in a way. And you will just come out as the performer, but you will not own the copyright to the song that has been done in the end. But that's just one instance. There may be others. You may come with your own lyrics and say, I've come with a song, please can I use your studio and produce it from here? So they're all really different, and that's one of the ways in which it can work.
Okay. We're going to dwell still on that. What is the purpose of copyright registration, protection, and enforcement?
Okay, so because I'm always talking to laymen, I want to use the lay
and I want you to use layman's
Yes.
language.
If I am really good at writing songs and performing them, if I simply hum something and perform it off my mind and it's not written anywhere, I don't have copyright. Because I'm just simply singing something, I have not even written it anywhere, I'm just composing it as I sing it. If you have someone who records me as I'm doing this, and then compiles what I've done, and then goes and produces it on CD, that person will have the copyright to what I've been singing, because they are the one who have fixed it onto some gadget.
But isn't that unfair?
It may seem unfair, but that's the law. The law stipulates that the one who fixes the work owns the work. And that's why we have had issues of why is it that MTN owned the caller tunes of Sevagala's Talking, because MTN bought the rights to the caller tune, they bought the rights to his what he was saying, the compilation, and they owned that copyright, not him who spoke. But if you're the same person who puts this into material form, then you own the copyright. So as we go along answering your question, the fixation of works is where copyright sets in.
Okay.
But if I want to protect my copyright, that people are going to start copying my CDs and even going across the country to another country and performing them, that's where this protocol is important, because it's about different countries within the Airpo member states. I'll have to show evidence that I own this copyright. And the best evidence, as Gilbert has stipulated, is you register your copyright. So URSB has a procedure. It has a form that you fill in under their regulations, where you write your name, you even give a copy of the CD, or if it's a book, you give them a copy of the book and the book title, and you fill in all the different things into that form. You present it. They publicize your application that you are applying for copyright. They wait for 2 months. If no one comes out and says, no, this is not the person who owns this, then they will give you a certificate at the end, and the certificate is proof that you own the copyright. So that would become your evidence. So then if someone comes in and starts performing your song or presents a book that you registered and says it's his book, you'd say, no, 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 I have my certificate. It's my proof that I own the copyright. You are copying my work, so I can take you to court over that. So that's the sequence of the law and how it works. And where this protocol will be of relevance is if the different member states sign on to the protocol. And let's say you're in Kenya and you're copying something from Uganda, the protocol will be guiding how someone in Uganda can enforce his copyright protection in Kenya as well. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Anthony Kakoza. Professor Anthony Kakoza is a lecturer in law at Makerere University and Uganda Christian University, Mukono, and is an IP expert. And Mr. Gilbert Agaba, who is the Director of Intellectual Property at Uganda Registration Services Bureau. You're tuned to UBC. My name is Juliet Naiga, and we are talking about intellectual property rights, specifically copyright, because Uganda is going to host a big conference which is called the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization Member States Meeting, which is due in Munyonyo. Mr. Agaba, now we're going to talk about this conference. When is it going to be happening?
Thank you. So the conference, the African Regional Intellectual Property Diplomatic Conference on notification of voluntary registration of copyright, will take place in Uganda from the 20th to the 28th of this month.
August, yes.
Yes, this month, 2021. The conference, like I mentioned earlier, brings together the 20 member states. There are other cooperating partners who are not member states but participate in activities of Airpo. About 8 of them will be participating in this conference, and it will also bring together other supporting partners who enable us to do our work, like the World Intellectual Property Organization, which is a UN agency. So the meeting will take place here in Uganda. It will start with what is called an expert meeting, where people like...
How many people are we expecting?
We are expecting 20 nationalities at the minimum.
Okay, each country is represented by one person.
That's what I was going into. So there are 3 sessions. You have what is called the expert session, where people like Dr. Kakoza and other experts from these 20 member states come together with the IP offices, look at the text of this document. So we go through and ensure that it meets the objectives that were set out by the organization. Then this text is submitted to another body called the Administrative Council of Airpo. This body is comprised of heads of intellectual property offices in the 20 member states. In Uganda, the head of the intellectual property office is called the Registrar General, and in some countries it could be an executive director or different title, but heads of intellectual property offices. Their job is scrutinize what the experts have come up with and resolve disputes and resolve matters that the experts couldn't agree on. And then after this, we'll have what is called the diplomatic conference. The diplomatic conference is a meeting of ministers responsible for intellectual property in their various countries. In Uganda, the responsible ministry is the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So our minister, together with ministers from other member states, meet in this diplomatic conference, and their job is to adopt or contract to this protocol. And if everything goes smoothly as we expect, that members will be able to compromise and agree on this document, we should have by the 28th a protocol which should be called the Kampala Protocol on copyright. And we are expecting the various ministers from these member states, the heads of the IP offices and experts who will be visiting Uganda during this period to agree on this protocol.
Are we expecting a head of state or something like that?
We expect that the head of state will come to open the diplomatic conference. As you know, our head of state is very passionate about creativity and invention, and this is a matter that is on his heart, to see how we can help our creative industry grow. And we believe that he'll be able to grace this occasion and open the sessions and give direction and guidance on such kinds of protocols.
Professor Kakoza.
Yes, please.
Uganda has so many beautiful laws, really beautiful laws and protocols that they subscribe to, they have domesticated. What are you going to do as one of the experts now that this protocol, if it is sanctioned as the per the conference's plan, how is it going to be put to use, to good use actually?
Yes. Well, that's a good question. We do have very beautiful laws. The problem always comes with implementation.
Yes.
And implementation of those laws starts with awareness about the laws. One of the things we've already talked about here is musicians always crying out that there's no law on copyright. It's because they do not know that the law is there. So as my colleague Gilbert said earlier, we need to keep the awareness going. That as stakeholders, we all come together, academicians, because I'm in both academia and practice, talking about these things at workshops, at conferences. URSB started an innovation series, which they run every Friday, and bring together different people in the industry, telling them about these laws, how to implement them, how to put them into practice. And this runs every single Friday. So they're always educating people, and we all partner up with them in this. And we do not only sit in the academic field in the universities and talk, but we also go out in the field and talk to various people. We have NGOs that we partner with in building up knowledge about these laws. So implementation in various ways is what we need to work on. And we're excited that Kampala is hosting the protocol. Like I mentioned, with all the other 4 protocols that Airpo has had, they go with the names of the places, the Harare Protocol, Banjo Protocol, Swakopmund, and Arusha. Now it's going to be the Kampala Protocol. But as we keep talking about the Kampala Protocol, we want to see our artists and all the people in the creative industry being part of it. Of course, we all can't converge them at Munyonyo, but the aftermath, the dissemination that will be spearheaded.
But I guess leaders of the musicians,
yes,
and maybe writers have been invited to take part in this, right? Or they've been consulted about this protocol.
Yes, of course, not everyone can physically.
I'm saying leaders, not everybody.
Yes, so of course we've taken input from various sectors of the industry, and of course would have loved to have more leaders even physically attend, but that is not possible for the obvious reasons.
Yes.
We have to limit the numbers as much as possible, but the important thing is that they have expressed time and time again their needs, and this protocol really would address these needs. And like the professor mentioned, the important thing is about implementation really. If this protocol is passed, how am I going to benefit as a musician, as a filmmaker, as an author of books? How am I going to be able to benefit when my work is put on the market? And this is really the message we want to communicate, that as a country, we hope this protocol will create opportunities more than they anticipated in the 20 member states, and we hope that they'll be able to take advantage of these opportunities when time comes.
Okay, time is not on my side, and it's been 1 good hour of interaction. Professor Kakoza, give me your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you.
Then after, you have 1 minute, then later Gilbert will give me his closing remarks.
Okay. as people within the creative industry, we think, or they, well, ourselves, think so much about what you're creating, that I've sung this song, let me sell 10 to 20 CDs. But that is just the CDs you're selling. But the copyright in those CDs can make you more money than just those CDs themselves. And we need to look at the fact that your market is in Uganda, and this protocol is going to expand that market outside Uganda for the next so many years. Copyright protects the life of the individual plus 50 years after your death. You can even put a will and you bequeath your copyrights to your family in your will. So as people in the creative industry, they need to appreciate the billions worth that is in copyright and how this is going to help them open up their minds into that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gilbert.
Yes, first of course to appreciate for hosting us and giving us an opportunity to share with the public about this important conference.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, most of it is closed because it's negotiations, and you need this kind of closed session to be able to facilitate negotiations. But there are sessions that will be open and broadcast, even here on UBC. We hope that you can follow. And if you still have any issues about intellectual property or about URSB, you can contact URSB directly. You can find us on social media at URSB HQ. So we are available on Twitter. We can also send us emails to ursb@ursb.go.ug. We have a website, ursb.go.ug, where you can be accessed. We have offices. Our head office is on George Street. It's Georgian House. But we have offices in Gulu, in Mbale, in Arua, in Masaka, in Mbarara, and branches around Kampala, where you can access URSB and our services. And we hope we can make a contribution to you as you engage in the creative sector, as you engage with the market, and we hope the IP can be used by your entity or as you as an individual to be competitive and gain returns from what you create and put to the market.
Thank you very much. Dear viewer, that is Mr. Gilbert Agaba, the Director of Intellectual Property at Uganda Registration Services Bureau. He is together with Professor Anthony Kakoza, a lecturer in law at Uganda Christian University and Makerere University. They've been telling us the importance of intellectual property, and specifically Uganda is going to host a very, very crucial conference on developing a protocol that will guide copyright reservations in Uganda. So it is starting on 20th to 28th here in Uganda at Munyonyo, and the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be opening it on 20th?
27th.
On 27th. So the musicians, the writers, the inventors, you have a chance to go at Uganda Registration Services Bureau on their different social media handles and website to dig into these details that will help you protect your work and earn from it, instead of really wasting your energy and then somebody else reaps fruits from your energy. My name is Juliet Naiga. Thank you for being a good viewer. Till then, bye-bye.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Century Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.